Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of What's Happening. I'm George Binns, and here with Gail Burke, Elliot Margolis, and Stuart Gardner. And as you can tell from the banner, we're going to talk about current events this evening. So, Stuart, what do you think's the most current?
I'd like to talk a little bit about renewable energy. My concern is that as a country, we should be moving forward. We should be using non-polluting, more efficient energy systems. And instead, I think our leadership is pursuing yesterday's energy, which I think is dirty, I think is dangerous, and I think pollutes the environment and contributes to global climate change.
Well, it seems to me that when Obama was president, he was in favor of clean coal, which would not pollute the environment. It would keep people having jobs in West Virginia, Pennsylvania, and other countries that mine coal. And it would give people jobs. Jobs are important. You have a job, you have money. You have money, you pay taxes. You pay taxes, the government's happy, they can waste more money. So I don't see the harm if they've got clean coal.
I don't either. I mean, I think about the people in Appalachia who are very poor and need coal. They need coal to heat their homes, cook their food, and so on and so forth. And the fact that the government had decided under Obama that, okay, we're going to retrain these people to do technical jobs. Well, a 65-year-old coal miner is not going to be learning new jobs, especially in the technical field. So I think that when you talk about pollution, I don't think it's the coal that's the problem. I think it's something like the the mountain eruption in Hawaii a couple of weeks ago that's causing more pollution than coal will ever cause.
Well, there's so many technical problems with the argument. Number one, there's no such thing as renewable energy. When you measure energy, it's two parameters: the quantity of the energy, which is in BTUs, and the quality of it. And once you use the energy, the quality is gone, you can't get it back. So that's a mem that they throw into the system and confuse people. You talk about clean energy. Well, what's unclean about plant food? You burn coal, you're going to get carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide goes into the plants along with water, and they make sugar, essentially. So it's just so many of these words that are thrown around that are being badly misused. And it's almost back to the story of 1984, where you've got newspeak. So we're going to take out the words we don't like, we're going to take the words we like, and we're going to distort them a bit so people think they're going to get a story, and they're not really getting the straight story.
So there's no such thing as clean coal. I think it's an oxymoron. It's a scrubber. I actually used to work for an energy firm for a long time, and they try to do it, and the 30 to 40%, and this is just a number that that I studied for a long time, come out the same coal, the same pollution comes out. 60% is tried to clean. I think so it's not renewable in the sense you're right. It's energy coming, but it's energy coming from the sun. It's energy coming from wind. It's energy coming from hydroelectric. It's other types of non-polluting energy. And I think we can find better ways. We're smarter than just saying, well, we have to help these people and retrain them in technical jobs, but let's keep the coal going because they need to have the jobs. I don't think anyone likes to work in a coal mine. I mean, I know there's probably tradition. They probably worked for generations in their family in a coal mine. But I think when you really ask them, I just read a study, 1 in 5 people that work in coal mines have black lung. That's a huge cost to society as far as medical problems, as far as dealing with the elderly. I think we, as a society, we have to decide, what are we going to do? Are we going to promote yesterday's energy sources? Are we going to promote just to save money? Or are we going to promote tomorrow's energy sources, which I think are a lot better for the environment and better for people?
Okay, so here's one problem that I see. Okay, when Ted Kennedy was alive, John Kerry, I think, is still alive, but you talked about the windmills. But the problem is, not in my backyard.
Yeah.
So here you've got these two liberals talking about we've got to do something about the energy, and let's do it, and let's ruin somebody else's view of the ocean or areas. Don't touch mine.
Yeah.
Then you got the other liberals who are saying it's going to kill a couple of birds, and so you can't have windmills because they're going to kill birds. So okay, forget windmills. You throw that out. Now let's talk about the solar energy. They got these people calling you up all the time now saying you want to put solar panels on your house.
On your roof, yeah.
Okay, but what they're not telling you is we'll put the solar panels on for free. If you get a leak in your roof, or if you have to replace your shingles, guess who has to take the solar panels off? Guess who has to pay for the roof, and then put the solar panels back on? You do.
Yeah.
Okay. Then you sell your house, and the people who buy the house don't want the solar. Who's got to pay for it?
Well, those issues have to get worked
so
out.
what my point is, you liberals come out with interesting ideas on how to be quote unquote, better for the environment, but don't do it yourself.
But the other thing that they don't want to talk about either, how about nuclear? Oh, we can't have nuclear. It's too dangerous. They don't even want to discuss nuclear.
I like nuclear power.
You might,
Yeah.
but the far left doesn't
Zero
want
emissions
nuclear.
again.
And look what happened in Germany. They had all this nuclear. And they decided, oh no, we're going to get rid of nuclear. And look what's happening to their economy.
Well, we're still not sure how to get rid of the uranium-232.
But we can find ways, like you say, we're very smart. We can do these things, but we can't do it all at once. It has to be done over time. And in the meantime, you still keep using the clean coal, and then you slowly get away from it to these other
But that's not what our leader
energy.
says. Our leader says we're just going to go bring back coal, as opposed to saying, you know what, we can phase out coal and we'll use 30 years. What I would like to hear from the top of the government is that, we're not going to forget the people in Appalachia. We're not going to forget. We're not going to get rid of coal because it's a huge portion of our economy right now. But we're going to phase it out, and we're going to make sure a little at a time that no one's left behind. And we're not going to train everyone to be phlebotomists or whatever they tried to do in Appalachia. And we're really going to have really good solutions. But that's not what happens. That's not
But
what
you didn't hear that from Hillary Clinton either.
I
Or Barack
don't
Obama.
care about Hillary Clinton. What I care about is what's going on now, and you guys tell me this is what I want to do. I'd like to see our country move forward. I just
keep
think we're
going
not.
back to the idea of this false information.
Yeah.
There is clean coal. DOE, Department of Energy,
Yes.
has a design for a coal gasification plant, runs at 60% efficiency. It's a compound cycle. We've got 400 years worth of coal in the ground. That's energy that's stored, and to turn your back on it and totally ignore it is totally inefficient. There are ways to run coal very cleanly and clean up the air and not pollute. It takes a little bit of money, but it can be done. But to turn your back on and say, oh no, we're never going to touch this stuff again. Same thing with nuclear. Everybody gets nervous and jerky when you talk about nukes. Gail mentioned Germany shut down all their nuclear power plants. Now they've got a problem. Their carbon dioxide is going up. Why? Because you got to have energy available all the time.
I agree.
And when the wind stops blowing and when the sun don't shine, you got to have some backup. And the only thing Germany's got is coal. They got to burn the coal.
I'm not talking about shutting down other fossil fuels and other sources and just going to cleaner types of energy. I'm saying that I would like to see from our government that this is what our goal is. Our goal in the next 40 years is to phase out the old and bring in the new. But that's not what our guy says. Our guy says, I like the old, bring the old, let's do it. We got plenty of it.
Let me say it again. We got 400 years worth
Yeah.
of coal. How can you ignore a resource like that?
Again, I want to phase it out. I don't want to phase it out today or
Right.
tomorrow.
But on the same token, President Trump said, this whole thing with Korea, he wanted to have these talks with Korea, and now he cut them off. When you listen to your advisors, you can change what you want to do. He's one person.
Yeah.
He's got a lot of people around him to talk to get advice from, and clearly he listens because he listened with the North Korean situation. So I think that if he's got good advisors, your suggestion could be well worthwhile to talk about.
Yeah.
You know,
And he does. He has a new Department of Energy person. He's got the head of the EPA, and they're cutting back on some of the
Pruitt.
regulations. Pruitt.
Pruitt doesn't like the environment, from what I understand.
From what you, well, you don't
Well, he
understand
comes-
it then.
what he says
He
is
says a
don't-
lot of good things.
The Greens don't like what he's saying. That doesn't make him wrong.
That's
Yeah.
right.
So I think part of the issue is, you make a very valid point. I got to admit that we need to have a plan, and somebody needs to say, this is what we're going to do, and this is how we're going to get from here to there. And unfortunately, with this present administration, we don't get that kind of stuff. It's a tweet today, and next to the day there's another tweet that's going to contradict it, or somebody else will jump all over it, or we get into the point you were making earlier before we started the show, that somebody will take something out of context and distort it, and all of a sudden people are getting all nervous and jerky about, oh, we're doing something horrible. He never said that, but that's the way it got distorted. So there's a separate issue involved. This whole thing is the two parties are not functional. The
Right.
government is not functional.
And the Congress is not functioning well
But now
either.
we got to go to number 2.
Topic 2.
Topic number 2,
Which is,
moving of the United States Embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. To me, a brilliant move on the part of President Trump. We've had 2 presidents or 3 presidents that said that it would happen, and it didn't happen. Now, why? Okay, the Palestinians are upset. I'm not going to cry any tears for the Palestinians, and I'll tell you why. If the Palestinians wanted peace, we would have had peace 20 years ago. Palestinians want one thing, the elimination of the state of Israel. And they will not have peace until Israel is gone. So what the United States has done and said, the hell with you. This is the right thing to do. The Jews have a right to Jerusalem. Historically, the Palestinians do not. And we're going to do what needs to be done. And if you guys really want peace, come on to the table and let's talk.
Do you want to say? I agree completely with that. My concern is what Trump has done is sort of appeased to the right-wing evangelicals, and they don't want the embassy in Jerusalem for the benefit of the Jews. They want the embassy in Jerusalem to bring on rapture, to bring on the coming of Jesus Christ. But that's true. The guy that made the
Where
speech
are you
is
getting this?
Jeffries. What's his name? The preacher
Yeah.
that was. That's right. Do you ever listen to? He's got hundreds of quotes I read from him. You can't be saved by being a Jew. You can't be saved by being a Muslim. You can't. The only way you can find salvation is accepting Jesus Christ.
I have a very serious problem with taking someone like that and saying that he speaks for the whole group of people.
He's the guy that opened the speech for the. When they moved
Understand. I think the brilliance of the move to Jerusalem is one that for years and years there's always been, well, we're going to have some negotiations, we're going to have a discussion. And as long as the embassy stayed in Tel Aviv, there was always the hope that, okay, we can talk them out of having a separate or two-state
solution.
two-state solution. But once they moved the embassy to Jerusalem,
yeah.
it's all over. That is no longer on the table. We're now having to say there's got to be a different solution. And biggest part of the problem is the Arabs will not support the Palestinians.
No, I agree.
They are totally upset, and they got a valid reason for it because nobody supports them. They're left out in the cold.
Well, I
It
think
would-
it's time that we had a president that supports the state of Israel, because Barack Obama did not.
I agree with that.
And he did not support Netanyahu. So I think finally they've gotten back to a president of this country that is supporting them and is supporting the whole movement. And I think it's a positive thing for everyone. I agree with Elliot about the Palestinians. They don't want peace. Their hatred It's all hate the Jews, hate the Jews. That's all they want to talk about.
I agree.
And various people, presidents have tried. They tried it with Yasser Arafat. It didn't work. Peace between Jerusalem, between the Israelis and the Palestinians, that didn't work. Jimmy Carter, didn't work. So now this move to move the embassy is a good first step, and I think it's a positive one.
I'm just concerned about, I think he's pandering to the evangelicals, and it's for a reason that does not benefit the Jews.
But you see, unfortunately, the left always sees some big political thing in it. Whatever the Republicans want to do, it always has to be a political thing in mind. Otherwise, they're not going to do it. It's not how it works.
So the right does the same thing.
Well, that's part of the problem, is that our government right now is not concerned about what's good for the people. It's concerned about what's good for the party.
Which is horrible, I think.
It's been terrible on both sides for too long.
So how do we fix that? Do you guys want more Democrats in office for the 2018?
Oh, my Lord.
So we want a more powerful Republican Party? Because a more powerful Republican Party is just going to be
right now,
worse,
the
isn't it?
Republican Party is split.
I
Right.
want
Okay, but
a
the
more
Democratic
conservative
Party
Republican Party.
they're loony.
They're
I
split
mean, they're
as well.
absolutely loony.
There's the
Yeah.
far left, and there's the
Yeah.
progressives, and
No.
then there's the liberals. They're totally split.
Yeah, everybody is split. We need a third party.
So what's I was going to say, what's the answer for
Well, I
2018?
think, for me, I like to see more conservatives elected to the Congress.
Yeah.
Because right now, you have the moderates, like Paul Ryan and that group, and then you have the conservatives, Jim Jordan and people like that, who are really striving to make things better. And I think Donald Trump falls somewhere in the middle. He's not a real conservative either. But I think with a more conservative Congress, we can get things moving. And I think there are Democrats who will lean more to the conservatives.
There's a lot of what they call them blue dog Democrats.
Yeah, like Joe Manchin is one of them, if he gets reelected.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens.
Well, basically, the problem of two dysfunctional parties, each one split, there's nobody in the middle, and the net result is everybody runs off into their own corner and talks to their buddies, and they come back and disrupt everything. Nothing's getting done. And the net result is we're going to go into the elections on 2018, and depending upon who you listen to, either the Democrats are going to take over, or no, they're not, or something else is going to happen. There's no consensus anywhere on anything. It's just total chaos.
And I think part of the reason for that, or all of the reason for that, is Trump. Because Trump is not a regular politician. Number one, he says he's going to do something and he does it. There's no BSing about Trump.
Right.
Okay? He doesn't follow the mold of Washington, D.C.
And they don't know what to do about it.
That's the problem. They don't know what to do about Trump. The Republicans don't know what to do about Trump. The Democrats don't know what to do about Trump, so they all hate him. In the meantime, he's getting things done.
Yeah. He's been a catalyst for change,
He's
which
the
is a
third
good
party,
thing.
if you want to think about
Maybe,
it.
maybe.
Yeah.
What change has he done that you've liked?
What changed? Well, first of all,
Start with the
moving the embassy, but
Yeah.
obviously the tax cuts are a good move.
Yeah.
Exposing the left-wing media has been a huge, huge improvement.
Yeah.
And of course, that's all the media wants to talk about is him. In the meantime, he's doing stuff that they're not reporting on. So I think that's a good thing.
Well, you got to admit, I guess, that there was one bipartisan change where they started to cut back on the Dodd-Frank regulations so that they went too far in trying to get the government to control the banks. And a lot of people got hurt in that. And a lot of bureaucrats made too many regulations. So pulling back on that, and I think 30 Democrats even voted for it. So it passed the House and it passed the Senate already. So that is a positive action, and it's a positive direction. They've
Excuse
totally
me for
dropped
just
the
a
ball.
minute. We have 10 minutes left. So do we want to do our wrap-up now?
Yeah, I'm wrapping up right now. So basically, my concern is we have a dysfunctional set of parties. We need a third party or somebody who can lead this country. Trump is going off, like you said, and doing his thing, and he's getting things done. But he's got no support from the general public because as far as the liberal media goes, everything he does is wrong.
Actually, I disagree with you there. I think he has a lot more support from the general public, and I think you're going to see that in November, because even though the press is saying the Democrats are going to take over the House and the Democrats are going to take over the Senate, they also said Hillary was going to win. I think if you go back to Richard Nixon, and I know you remember Richard Nixon, I remember Richard Nixon. Gail, you do. You might have been.
Richard who?
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
But the silent majority. And I really believe the silent majority is out there, and I think you're going to see a Republican sweep in November because people are tired of this BS that's going on in Washington.
Yeah.
They're tired of it, and whether they like Trump or not, they see he's accomplishing something that Congress has not done for 30 years.
I think he's an outsider. I agree. I think you're right. And they want an outsider.
What's your two?
Okay. I have to agree with you as well.
I love that.
Because I do believe in the silent majority, and I'll tell you one very important reason why is because where I'm living now, I started a group, a conservative discussion group. They're coming out of the woodwork to listen to us because they're fed up with all the BS that's been going on in the media. They don't know who to believe either. So we're trying to tell them, look at these different sources. You don't have to pay attention to the Boston Globe or the New York Times. You don't have to do that. You have to listen to other sources. And they are listening, and they are agreeing with us, which is amazing because we know that the media was totally wrong with the 2016 election. And I think they're going to be totally wrong with this one as well. Let's hope so anyway, because I think we're heading in a more positive direction. Go.
So a couple things. Back to real quickly on the renewable energy. What I want leadership. I want someone to say, look, I get it. We've got tons of coal on the ground. We're gonna phase it out though. We're gonna phase it out over X amount of time because this other energy is better. We're gonna make it more efficient. It's cleaner. But that's another story. The Jerusalem thing. My fear is that the pandering, what Mr. Trump does is he panders to these hard right groups, and all that does is it makes more trouble for trying to get people to negotiate. One of the things that this group panel talked about is that we've got too far left and too far right. I don't think he's helping. I don't think he's helping by pandering to the far right, and I'm a huge supporter of Israel. I want that to be clear. I'm not a big fan of Palestinians. I don't want to get into that, but I support the Jews' rights to be in Israel. I'm a huge supporter of Israel. And as far as the left-wing media and whatnot, my opinion is you guys have this like boogeyman in your head about who the left-wing media is. There is no left-wing media. There are pretty far left people on the media and pretty far right, but most stories are just based upon facts. They see it, they write down the facts, and they say A, B, C, D, make your own conclusions. That's the media I read. When I read the Boston Globe, when I read the New York Times, even when some of the Fox News stuff I listen to, it's fact, fact, fact. You make your own conclusion. It's the opinion that gets left and right, and those are different.
Well, the problem is that the opinion seems to take over for the facts, or they leave out certain facts. Part of the left-wing media's deal is they don't tell you everything, so that you don't know everything. And that's an error of omission, and that error of omission is trying to change your mind on what things are and what things aren't. And their job is to tell us the facts. All the facts. Not the ones they want us to hear, but all of them. They don't do that.
No, I think that the problem with journalism today is the journalists are not trained as journalists. They're trained as analysts and opinion makers. And when you read articles in the New York Times, in the Boston Globe, in the Washington Post, they're not facts. They're speculation. A lot of it is speculation. They're not based on facts. There may be a little fact in there sometimes. Then they make mistakes. Then they have to publish, maybe, their corrections.
A perfect example is the deal with MS-13.
Yeah.
Trump was very specific in what he said, that the MS-13 people are animals. And then all of a sudden the press says Trump is calling all immigrants animals. That's not what he did, and that's fake news at its worst. They're trying to put a black sheath around Trump unjustifiably. They're not telling the news the way it is.
Well, that case is not just unique. It started when they was first talking about the wall, and what Trump was saying is, we want to put up a wall to make sure we keep the rapists and the criminals out. We've got a problem in this country with opioids and drugs. And one of the major contributors to that is the black tar heroin that comes out of the west coast of Mexico. And I use this joke over again, but the story is, how would you get a nuclear weapon into this country by some terrorists? Oh, you put it in a bale of marijuana and smuggle it across the border. The border is porous, and yet everybody talks about, oh, as soon as you talk about controlling the border, you're anti-something or other, you're a phobic.
You're a racist.
You're
You're
a
racist.
Who says that? That's just not true.
It is.
Of course it
No,
is.
sir, it is
and
true.
our opiate problem started by American drug companies. So maybe we have Mexican black tar coming over now, but the genesis was from all the drug companies that the doctors overprescribed opiates for their patients with pain who needed painkillers.
That's not where the heroin comes from.
Of course it does, because most of the people didn't want to let them smoke pot. You guys.
Did you ever watch
Wow.
Porgy and Bess?
I have one for you, best, yes.
Yeah.
And I want a secure border, by the way.
Yes.
I want a secure border.
Yeah. What was Sport and Life doing?
I don't remember.
And they were sniffing snow.
Yeah.
He was a drug pusher.
Yeah.
It's been going on for years.
Yes.
So it's not something new that all of a sudden they discovered oxycodone.
Our heroin problem comes from prescription medication that started in the household. And then then they couldn't get it because they either stopped prescribing, or the parents took it away, or it was too expensive, and then they go to the street to get the heroin. I mean, there was a heroin problem before, but the heroin problem of today comes
Oh,
from...
yeah, the problem has morphed from being one of drugs that are coming across the border, because we don't grow poppy seeds around here.
I don't grow any poppy seeds.
Yes. So,
I have them on my bagels sometimes.
yes.
Do they work?
I grew poppies in my garden.
Can I just say one more thing about the immigration? You guys talk about, now I'm all for getting rid of criminal immigrants. I can't, I mean, that's an easy one. But we're not doing that. We're going after everybody. We're going after low-hanging fruit. Anyone that's working here and trying to pay taxes and trying to come in. That's just wrong. We had an immigration talk before.
Yeah.
We need a guest visa program because we need people here. I can't get a contractor right now to work because there's no one doing the work.
We need people, but we also need to make sure that they are vetted. Because
agree.
they are
Yeah.
coming over the border, and the so-called children are not even children.
I agree.
Yeah.
And they're
it's not-
coming in and not being vetted very well.
I agree 100% with
And
that.
you have
It's-
sanctuary cities that are providing sanctuary for them to go to.
Why can't we do immigration by state? Why can't Massachusetts bring in 50,000 immigrants and
Very
Texas?
simple.
Why can't we?
Because Congress is too stupid and lazy. Okay, they haven't done anything for
Yes.
30 years. They see a problem and they say to themselves, well, if I vote this way, this guy is not going to vote for me. If I vote this way, this guy is not going to vote for me, so don't vote.
I agree 1,000%. Why can't, I mean, we have the technology to do it. Why can't we do that?
We're told we
we
have to
still
wrap
need-
We
it
have to
up.
wrap it up. It was a strong ending.
Gail, you're wrapping up.
Yeah.
Okay. I think the ending was almost stronger than the
Strong ending.
regular
Strong
sentence.
ending.
This has been a lot of fun. Thank you, Stuart, for coming and dealing with us again.
Yes.
And we hope to make this a monthly occurrence with the four of us, so I think that would be a good thing. Elliot, keep on wearing those ties.
Thank you.
Yeah, you got to wear a different color shirt. I can't see straight with it.
George, thanks for your historical facts. You're always on target with those.
Stop telling the truth, George.
So I don't know what we're going to be talking about next time, but it's going to be lively, it's going to be interesting and well-informed. So thank you all for watching.